Hello, good afternoon, my dear students. Welcome to one more amazing session from Sri Chaitanya Academy Infinite and NEET YouTube channel. So we are close to re-NEET examination. How are you doing? And what about your Josh? So what about your confidence levels? So examination is done and you have to write your re-NEET examination. So you are already done with your preparation. So no need to panic. आराम से relax, you can just go to examination center and you can write your examination. That's a real finale. So how are you doing? So all the best, my dear students. Let us do with re-NEET quick recapture about short formulas and how the formula we have to recall during examination. Everything, last minute tips and tricks we are going to discuss. Are you there? So those who are online, please like the session, share with your friends, subscribe to Sri Chaitanya Academy Infinite and NEET YouTube channel. So you know who is the game changer for your NEET exam? Your confidence levels, your mental gravity, the way you think when the question is appearing to you. Agree or not? So it's all depends on your confidence levels only. Again, it is not dependent on how hard you studied, not at all a matter. It depends on how smartly you apply your concept that you already studied during examination, bacho. So let's see in the re-NEET examination, topic wise topic, how formulas are there and how we are doing and everything you can do it. In the re-NEET examination, first of all, you need to connect with the mole concept. The mole concept, any entity which counts for Avogadro number. You have three types of mole formulas. If weight of the substance is given, so number of moles is equal to weight in grams upon its molecular weight. And if the number of the atoms or molecules or ions are given, number of moles is equal to number by Avogadro number. If the volume of the gas at STP is given, the volume of the gas at STP in liters upon 22.4. If it is not given at STP, you can use P1 V1 by T1 is equal to P2 V2 by T2 to convert into the STP conditions. So like that, you can solve any kind of mole calculations based on that. In this basic concepts, one more important parameter that you have, that is nothing but your limiting reagent. Here it is your limiting reagent concept. So the limiting reagent is the one which is consumed during the examination and it determines and limits how much a product has to be formed. The best way to calculate the limiting reagent here, divide the given available number of moles upon the stoichiometric coefficient. The one which is having the least division is the limiting reagent. And if you get a question from the stoichiometry, definitely you will be having a question from the limiting reagent. I can assure you that. Here it is a best example, 6 grams of hydrogen, 28 grams of nitrogen combines to give rise 34 grams of ammonia. As 3 moles of hydrogen, a mole of nitrogen gives rise to 2 mole of ammonia. So presence of limiting reagent, like agar 3 grams of hydrogen is given, so how much product has to be formed, and that 17 grams of NH3 should be formed if 28 grams of nitrogen is given, so 14 grams of remaining excess reagent is there. Definitely NEET examination loves this kind of concepts. Focus on this. During examination, focus there only. If you get a question from the stoichiometry, limiting reagent is the only concept, definitely you will be having a chance there. So those who are online, please like the session and talk to me and do chatting so that you will be having a kind of connect. Okay. So I wanted to say, when the examination paper is given, I am talking about the physics, chemistry and the biology. First give priority to the biology, and in the chemistry there are 45 questions. Among 45 questions, 15 questions that you can answer without using a pen and paper. So 15 questions you can do within 10 minutes. So let us account for the 10 minutes. 60 minutes you keep for chemistry. So let us give charity 10 minutes to the physics. So I will give you how to do 50 minutes में chemistry paper कैसे करना है. And we already did 15 questions, and there are 25 questions you can do by solving it. That requires minimum of 30 minutes. So 40 minutes is there. So you have 35. Rest of the 10 questions you have to do in 10 minutes by using your critical thinking ability. So that 50 minutes you can do the question, and there is a grace period before you attempt it. Use that grace period, that is a real time grace period, and use that grace period to crack this 10 to 15 questions. So every chapter you can do from the biology as well. So you will be doing 25% of the paper in the grace period. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? So if you have the smart strategy, so that you can do the best. So how to use the grace period during NEET examination, that is a common phenomenal point. Moving ahead, I just want to talk about atomic structure. In that atomic structure, you have photon and wave relation. E is equal to h nu hc by lambda. So E is inversely proportional to lambda. So E1 by E2 is equal to lambda 2 by lambda 1. That's a very important formula. And also you have E is equal to 12400, and lambda is given in angstrom units, so that energy you are going to get electron volt. You know 1 electron volt is equal to 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 joules. So like that, electron accelerated by potential. So you have de Broglie equation, lambda is equal to h by mv. So h is a Planck's constant value. Don't worry about the constant values, will be given in the examination. Bacho, you can say this is a particle accelerated by the potential h by root 2 k E, and for electron the wavelength is given 12.3 into root voltage. That is also very important. Electron revolves around the nucleus in a wave motion like this. It goes like this. 2 pi r is equal to n lambda is the condition you need to take into that. N is the number of the shell number, and also you will be having photoelectric effect. Energy of the incident light is equal to work function plus kinetic energy. So kinetic energy is equal to E minus W naught, or kinetic energy is equal to h nu minus h nu naught. So kinetic energy is equal to h of nu minus nu naught. Like this, so many formulas are there. Nu is the frequency of the incident light, nu naught is the threshold frequency or critical frequency. If you take a kinetic energy versus frequency, you are going to get a straight line intercepting on the x-axis, which gives you nu naught. Okay, so like that you have to take the proper idea about every topic that you study in any chapter. That I strongly suggest you. It's a quick recapture that is happening in the YouTube channel. You want to open a chapter, you will be studying continuously. It takes 2-3 hours, but in 30 minutes total physical chemistry formulas, I just want to revise it. Are you ready for that? Come on, take a pen and paper and just sit like a time pass and write the formulas for the sake of last minute revision. And also you can say the Bohr's model, electron revolve around the nucleus in a concentric circular path called orbits, and electron revolving in that particular orbit is going to have a definite energy, and these are having definite energy, so that they are said to be stationary orbits. When the electron is revolving in that, it neither loses or nor gains energy. So the energy is always constant. But they can gain or lose energy by means of delta E is equal to E2 minus E1. Okay. So radius is equal to n square h square by n me to the power 4 by z e square, and radius of the electron is equal to 0.529 into n square by z angstrom units. Similarly, velocity is going to be 2.18 into 10 raise 6 into z by n meters per second, and energy is given as minus 13.6 into z square by n square electron volt. So like that, the connection between the radius and the energy and everything has to be studied. And moving ahead, Vacho, looking at the spectral lines, when an electron jumping from the higher energy level to the lower energy level, it loses energy, and that jump could be in a single step or the multiple steps, and the single step or multiple steps gives a various spectral lines. So the Lyman series, UV visible region, so Lyman series is formed when electron is jumping to n is equal to 1 and it is in the visible region, and the Balmer series is formed when electron is jumping to n is equal to 2, that is in the visible region. The Paschen bracket fund is formed in the infrared region. So that is calculated wavelength is equal to Rz square of 1 by n1 square minus 1 by n2 square. n1 is to which shell an electron is coming, and 2 is from which shell an electron is coming. And moving ahead here, the quantum numbers. The principal quantum number, it is from this n is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, so on. It talks about to which shell an electron belongs. And azimuthal quantum number, it talks about the shape of the orbital to which subshell an electron is belonging. L value is starting from 0 and ends up to n minus 1. And magnetic quantum number, it talks about the orientation. The values lies from minus L including 0 to plus L. And the spin quantum number, it talks about the spinning of the electron about its own axis, that it could be plus 1 by 2 or minus 1 by 2. And the number of orbital in a shell is equal to n square, and the total number of electrons in a shell is equal to n square. Number of orbital in a subshell is equal to L plus 1. And so Hindi mein bhi, okay, electrons in any orbital is equal to 2. Okay. Now talking about इक्विलिब्रियम, इक्विलिब्रियम में काफ़ी कम फार्मूला है, लेकिन आप इस्तेमाल करना है ये फार्मूला के हिसाब से. अगर मान के चलो a प्लस b gives rise to c प्लस d, equilibrium constant is given as active mass of C and D upon A and B. So Kc is equal to equilibrium constant in terms of concentrations. Okay, and अगर Kp भी आप दे सकता हूँ, that partial pressure of C to the power C, partial pressure of D to the power D, and partial pressure of A to the power A, partial pressure of B to the power B. And equilibrium constant for general reaction is given like this. If A moles of A, B moles of B, C moles of C and D moles of D अगर होगा तो ठीक है बेटा. And how this Kc and Kp are related? Yes, Kc and Kp are related as Kc is equal to Kp is equal to Kc RT to the power delta n. And in that, if the reaction is reversed, मान के चलो C plus D C plus D gives rise to A plus B. In that, if the reaction is reversed, Kc dash is equal to 1 by Kc. अगर रिएक्शन उल्टा करेंगे तो Kc इन्वर्ट करना पड़ता बेटा. एंड Kp इज इक्वल टू Kc RT टू दी पावर डेल्टा n. वो डेल्टा n होता है क्या? डेल्टा n is equal to sum of the number of gaseous products minus sum of the number of gaseous reactants. If delta n is equal to 0, Kc is equal to Kp. If delta n is equal to positive, Kp is greater than Kc. If delta n is equal to less than 0, Kp is less than Kc. And इसमें what is the reaction coefficient Kc? Reaction coefficient and Kc मैथमेटिक एक्सप्रेशन सेम होगा तो, लेकिन Kc सिर्फ इक्विलिब्रियम कंडीशन में इस्तेमाल करता हो बेटा. बट Kc is written at any equation, at any situation of the process. अगर Kc Kp को बराबर होगा तो this is at equilibrium. अगर Kc greater than Qc होगा तो रिएक्शन आगे बढ़ने के ज़्यादा कोशिश करता. If Kc is less than Qc होगा तो reaction favors more on the backward direction. So the direction or position of the equilibrium is assessed based on Qc. Definitely in the NEET examination you are going to expect a question from these expressions. And also you have relation between equilibrium constant Kc and reaction quotient Q and Gibbs energy. That I just want to show you here. बच्चों, NEET examination perfect pointers, last moment pointers are this one, and delta G is equal to delta G naught plus RT ln Q. Delta G naught is equal to minus RT ln K, because Qc become Kc at equilibrium and delta G is going to be 0 at equilibrium. And you know K is equal to exponent to negative delta G naught upon RT. So delta G is equal to standard Gibbs free energy change. And there are three formulas that I am showing you. These three formulas can directly impact you on this NEET formula, and it can be a numerical, it can be statement based questions, and NEET examination papers loves statement based questions, statement 1 and statement 2, and assertion reasoning type questions, and match the following questions. NTA is not going to test you how hard work you do it. NTA is going to test you the understanding ability. So the understanding ability is assessed based on your this type of questions. And moving ahead here, ionic equilibrium, acid base theories. After acid base theories you are going to get the pH. So pH is equal to negative logarithm to the base 10 of H plus ion activity. And you know pH is equal to 7 neutral, less than 7 acidic, greater than 7 basic. It is only valid at 25 degrees centigrade. Okay. And also you say Ka into Kb is equal to Kw. Ka acid dissociation constant, Kb base dissociation constant, Kw ionic product of water. Kw is going to be 1.0 into 10 raised negative 14 mole square per liter square. This is constant at 25 degrees centigrade, and if any other value is given according to the question, you just follow according to that. And a buffer solution, you are going to have the Anderson-Hasselbalch equation. pH is equal to pKa plus log acid by salt by acid. If it is a basic buffer, POH is equal to pKb plus log salt by base. So a buffer is going to be working at its best at the range of the pH is equal to pKa plus or minus 1. So these are all the noteworthy points you need to know before you going for your examination, bacho. And you have the salt hydrolysis here, bacho. In this salt hydrolysis, a salt of a strong acid and a strong base never hydrolyzes. Acid plus base react with the salt and water. It is exothermic process. That process is called the neutralization. If the salt react back with the water and give back to the respective to salt and the acid and the base is essentially an endothermic process, and depending upon the type of salt, you are going to have the nature of the aqueous solution, right? Bacho, you can see here a salt formed between the weak acid and the strong base. Okay, you are going to get an example of CH3COO-Na is an example. Anionic hydrolysis takes place, and hydrolysis constant Kw by Ka, and the degree of hydrolysis is equal to root over Kw by Ka and dot C, and pH is equal to 7 plus half pKa plus half log C. And also strong acid and weak base, you are going to get ammonium chloride. You will see cationic hydrolysis, and in that hydrolysis constant is equal to Kw by Kb, and degree of hydrolysis H is equal to root over Kw by Kb dot C. C is the concentration of the solution, and pH is equal to 7 minus half pKb minus half log C. Similarly, you have a weak acid and a weak base. You are going to get ammonium acetate CH3COO-NH4, and both cationic and anionic hydrolysis takes place, and the degree of hydrolysis is independent on the concentration of the salt. That is a noteworthy point, and the pH is equal to 7 plus half pKa minus half pKb. So this is about the salt hydrolysis. Any doubts? Students, any doubts? I just want to ask you here. Okay, right. You know, this is what we already discussed just now. In the thermodynamics, you say change in internal energy, delta U is equal to Q plus or minus W. First law of thermodynamics. If work is done on the system, work is done by the system. And this is a different version in the physics, but here chemistry we follow IUPAC guidelines and do this. Heat is given in Q plus and heat is coming out Q negative, and work is equal to work reversible, and that is negative P external dV. You have to integrate from initial to final volume. That is called PV work, and free expansion Q minus QPW. So for free expansion, work is going to be 0. So work in the reversible process negative 2.303 N or T log V2 upon V1 or V final minus V initial. So negative 2.303, number of moles, R is equal to 8.31 for temperature supposed to be at standard condition 298 lena padta. And you have free expansion, we already seen. Enthalpy is equal to internal energy plus PV work done, that is a delta N or T. Okay. And delta N we already did in the previous slide. Delta N is equal to sum of the number of moles of gases products, sum of the number of moles of gases reactants. That is the one way you can do it. And also enthalpy we already see. Heat capacity Q is equal to C double delta T, and this heat capacity can be two types: heat capacity at constant pressure and heat CP, heat capacity at constant volume CV. Cp minus Cv is equal to R. Cp minus Cv is equal to R, and Cp by Cv is equal to Poisson ratio, that is called gamma, and that is a various formulas that you can say. Take a screenshot. Hi, what I do for physics and how many chemistry at the exam, and at the exam physics you can handle it. Physics you can handle it by looking at that physics question with physics mind. So there is a mathematical approach is required, and if you ask me personally, physics is easier than chemistry, but the approach students are missing. That's the reason why you are lacking in physics. Maybe physics in the May 3rd examination you feel it okay, but June 21st physics definitely you may expect a great impulse. So that is the Poisson ratio. Cp by Cv is called as a Poisson ratio. Okay, that's good. At least you guys are involving enthalpy change, enthalpy of the reaction during a chemical reaction can be changed is equal to sum of the enthalpy of the products minus sum of the enthalpy of the reactants. So enthalpy of reaction for the bond dissociation energies you can see here. So bond enthalpy of reactant minus bond enthalpy of the products. Everywhere product minus reactant, whenever bond energy is there, reactant minus products, I find this. That is the key point. Enthalpy of solution is equal to lattice enthalpy plus hydration enthalpy. Enthalpy change for reverse process delta S is a Q reversible by T. And also total entropy change is equal to entropy change of the system plus entropy change of the surroundings is equal to entropy change of the universe should be greater than 0, then only the process is going to be spontaneous. This is what is called a second law of thermodynamics. This is what is called a second law of thermodynamics. Bacho, this is very, very important point, mathematical form of the second law of thermodynamics. And also delta G is equal to delta H minus T delta S. If delta G is equal to 0, the process at its equilibrium. If delta G is positive, the process is at non-spontaneous, and delta G is negative, the process is going to be spontaneous. According to Gibbs-Helmholtz equation, delta G is equal to delta H minus T delta S. If delta H is negative, delta S is positive, and delta G is going to be negative at any value of the temperature, such processes are going to be spontaneous at any temperature. That's very, very important. And also moving ahead here, equivalent conductance. Okay, so that is given as specific conductance into 1000 by concentration, molar conductance, specific conductance into 1000 by molarity according to Kohlrausch law. Please explain Gibbs energy sign significantly. I will show you this better. Delta G is negative, that is called as spontaneous. Delta G is going to be positive, that is a non-spontaneous. And delta G is equal to 0, the system is at equilibrium. Fine. Any doubt? Any doubt, beta? And talking about moving at Kohlrausch law of independent ionic migration. If at infinite dilution, when the dissolution is complete, each ion migrates independently and contribute to the total molar conductivity. You want to say here, calcium chloride gives rise calcium 2 plus 2Cl minus. Limiting molar conductance of calcium chloride is equal to ionic mobility of calcium 2 plus and 2 into ionic mobility of Cl minus. Like that you can do it, and this is your Nernst equation. Nernst equation. E cell or EMF is equal to E naught minus 2.303 RT by NF log this M by Mn plus, so it is going to be 1. So you can say 1 by metal ion concentration. Delta H is positive, then it is non-spontaneous. If it is negative, spontaneous beta. That is the fundamental of this Gibbs free energy change, and that is given as E cell is equal to 0.303 RT by NF log Kc, the Kc and E cell relation. Based on this, definitely you will be expecting a question from NEET examination. If not, you can see here, this is delta G naught is equal minus NFE naught is equal to minus 2.303 RT log Kc. That also can be used. Okay, and you can also see Faraday's laws here. Okay, mass of the substance that is deposited is directly proportional to the quantity of charge passed through the electrolyte. That is given as M is equal to WIT, or otherwise G is equal to W by F. Z is called electrochemical equivalent, and F is equal to 96,500, and weight of the substance is equal to atomic weight into I into T upon N into 96,500. This works a lot. This works a lot. Okay, and also you can also say this is a second law of electrolysis. When equal quantity of current is passed through the electrolyte which is connected in the serial, okay, and the amount of substance that is deposited at the respective electrode in the ratio of their equivalent weights. Okay, bacho? So like that you can do all your formula calculations and all, and we'll meet with more kind of things. We'll meet with more kind of things like this, and again Saturday I'll meet you and I'll give you last minute. I'll give you the last minute tricks and tips. Last minute tricks and tips before going for the examination. Can you tell which portion of salt analysis has most chances in the paper? Because I make a notes of, but I have not enough time to cover. Cation group analysis, conformation of anion, conformation of cation. Just one test you take it. Okay, so that definitely qualitative analysis you can do it. So manganese 2 plus, copper 2 plus, silver plus, like that. Okay, zinc. Okay, definitely there is a chance of getting. Just simple questions will come. There you need not have to ask so many complicated things. Anyways, time is up, and thanks for watching, and please like this session, share with your friends, subscribe to Sri Chaitanya Academy Infinity and NEET YouTube channel. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your compliments. We will see if any doubts are there, put in the comment box. Okay, thank you very much.